Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to take some time just to talk about buying second-hand lenses for your camera. Now I'm going to be talking with a view for using them as cinema lenses for my Pocket 4K. So if you're wanting more kind of photo applicable lenses, there are plenty of other videos out there. With that being said, I do use these videos for photography. However, I mainly bought them for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Alrighty, so we're going to start with the Canon 28mm lens. This is a prime lens, not a zoom lens. Most of the ones that I've looked at are prime lenses. So I wanted to try and build out a cinema set of lenses. However, it's obviously really difficult because they're all super expensive. So what I did was I basically watched loads of YouTube videos, found out what some of the recommended brands were for these kind of vintage lenses and what looks good, and the overall consensus was anything Russian made or East European made was pretty much gonna work for me. So the lenses that I've got are pretty much all from that area of the world around the same time. So I've got a Canon 28mm, I've got a Canon 135mm, which is phenomenal. I love this lens. I have a Miranda 28-70, which is kind of handy as a zoom lens. It's the only zoom lens that I did get. And then everyone's favorite, the Helios 442. This one is quite an old one. This one's quite beat up. However, I got it as part of a bundle, and I'll go a little bit more into that. I did get this as part of a bundle, but I'll go a bit more into that later on. So first off, you might be wondering, where can you get these from? Now, my favorite place to go for these are antique stores. Where I'm from, we have a little place called G-Dad's Collectibles. So if you're in the Buckinghamshire area, I would highly suggest Googling it and going down there. I did get an incredible deal whilst I was there on a Zenit camera. So I got this camera, the Zenit E, which did come with the Helios 442. It is one of those screw mounts. I can't put it on because it's got a Canon EF mount on it, but it came with that, and it came with the 135 Chinon lens. So as far as it actually goes, that knocked out two of my requirements straight away. And I've got to say, like, you know, I paid for the whole thing. I think it was £35. So I got a camera which works. I've tested it and it worked. I got a camera. I'm going to leave that there because that looks nice. So I got a camera and two lenses for £35. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Another place you could get them are from auctions. So literally next to where I got those from, there was an auction. I was like, oh, I'll pop in and see if they have any camera stuff. So I did. I went in, and whilst I was in there, I saw they had an old Miranda film camera with a lens, and that is where the 28-70, I think it was, yeah, the 28-70 came from. So that was kind of a bit of a bargain, really. If I really wanted to take one lens out with me on the Blackmagic that's vintage, I would probably actually take this one. Not just because of the focal range, but because the aperture blades work really well, which actually, going back to the other lenses, that was something that I couldn't test out. Again, I'll get into that a little bit later. So whilst at this auction, I did see this camera and the lens. It was part of a bundle in a bag with the flash and everything. So I just waited, and I got that for £10. So I spent approximately £50 that day, and I got a camera and two cameras and three lenses. I'm still yet to actually shift the cameras because I'm probably not going to use them. I've got an Olympus, which I use as my film camera. However, once I get the film developed from the Zenit E, we'll see kind of how they compare. Okay, so now I want to talk about a couple of things that you're going to want to check. And now this wasn't necessarily something that I knew going into it, but it's definitely something I know coming out of it, because although I did get a bargain, I got kind of stuck with the lenses because they don't fully work in the way that I wanted them to. So if I went on eBay and I ordered a lens, chances are I could get something with aperture blades that work and, you know, proper focus. Now the focus on all of these lenses is perfectly fine. However, I thought that I was in luck when I tested this lens, because this lens works perfect. So the aperture rings on this, I don't know if you can see this, but the aperture rings on the Helios work perfectly fine. And I actually kind of like the construction of this as well. It feels like a really solid lens, and it's actually my favorite looking. The Miranda 28-70, like I said, focus ring works on that, and the aperturing works too. The 28mm chin-on lens. Now this is what I was kind of disappointed about, because I wanted to get all of the chin-on lenses. I wanted to get the 28, the 35, the 50, the 85 and the 135. So I kind of had a full set of the same lenses, and I thought I was in luck. However, it actually turns out that the aperturing on the 28 and the 135 doesn't work at all. Now I've tried taking them apart to see if I can fix it, but unfortunately I cannot. Oh, hold on a minute. The 28 does work. Never mind. Oh, there we go. The 28mm aperturing does work, so that's kind of handy. The 135 aperturing does not work, because I did definitely take this one apart, but if you see, it just doesn't work. And I took it apart and there's literally nothing you can do inside to make that work, which is just a real shame. At f2.8 I think it is, it doesn't look bad. Like it's a really solid looking lens. So some other things to check when you're looking at these lenses are things like fungus and dust, either in between the elements or on the elements themselves. Now most of these are fine. I'd say actually like the 442 is the only one with signs of aging and cosmetic wear, and that is purely down to the fact that there is a tiny crack in the glass. Yeah, you won't be able to see that, which doesn't actually show up in the footage whatsoever. So it's technically fine. The lens actually works really well, and you know, I managed to get 3 lenses there which work, you know, 90% of their full functionality for less than 50 quid. And if you take probably like the cost of it all away, you could say I got them for 30 quid if you pay £10 for each thing. So another thing I would do when you're going to test lenses like this, if you're going out shopping for something, is take your camera. So I took my M50 with me when I went to get these lenses, and something I wish I'd taken was an adapter ring. So if you're going for one of these lenses, then you're going to need an adapter ring to mount to your camera. So if you're using Canon like I am, then you will want to be getting an EF to M42 adapter for this, because this is so the screw mount on these, which goes on the older cameras, then converts it to a Canon mount, and these are I think about £8 to £10 on Amazon. I'll leave a link below. So you can really get some decent lenses to adapt to your Canon stuff. Problem was I didn't have that when I went to get this lens, so I couldn't fit it properly. I kind of had to stand there with my camera in my hand and really struggle with it and hold it, and then twist the focus ring, and it was just it was a whole thing. So if you can, I would 100% recommend getting all the adapters first, take them with you, and at the end of the day, if you don't use them, you just send them back, right? So I've kind of covered off the physical purchasing of these lenses, but you can also purchase things like this on eBay. There are lots of people selling all kinds of lenses like this from all over the place. Sorry, dog moved the cable there. Just gonna pull that up there so it doesn't do it again. So you can get lenses like this from eBay. There are places selling them left, right and center. In fact, the first lens that I bought was from eBay, and also was one of the ones that didn't work properly. So I'd ordered it from eBay, it arrived like 3 days later. I got it home, got the adapter ring, and I tested it, and the focus was, let's say, macro. I learned my lesson, passing that information on to you. Make sure you ask the seller if possible, so you can easily pop someone a message on eBay. It's one thing to be looking out for, and the seller was actually kind enough to say, you know what, that's fine, I'll give you half of it back, because I said, you know, can you refund me some money for this? I'll keep the lens, but it doesn't work as properly as it should do. So that was really good of the seller, but these things can be done. So it's just one thing to be really careful with when ordering online. And obviously you can't check for fungus like you can't have a look at the lens and give it a good old look over. So don't be afraid to ask the seller, message them. You know, if you're buying something on Facebook Marketplace, it's obviously a lot easier than on eBay. However, eBay obviously covers you on your purchases, so it kind of swings and roundabouts as to which one you should actually go for. So that pretty much sums up purchasing vintage secondhand lenses, or just secondhand lenses in general, really. Obviously, if you're buying something like really nice kind of current era glass, like this 24-70 L series, it's going to come from somewhere like CVP, which is where I got this from. It's going to be fully inspected. It's going to be sitting in their warehouse, in their store, for you to order from, so they're going to have checked it over and it's going to be completely vetted, and they'll tell you everything that's wrong with it. So when you're buying more expensive glass like that, I would recommend either getting your hands on it or buying it from a reputable source. But like I said, that does conclude this video. I hope this was of some help to you and gave you some insight into what to expect and what to do when you're going to buy vintage lenses, if like me, you're wanting to make a nice, small, cheap cinema setup for your Blackmagic. Don't forget to like the video, get subscribed, light the bell if you want to stay up to date every time I release a new video, and until the next one, see ya.